With such a vast amount of material coming out of the moat, it's important that we search the spoil heap thoroughly. And this is why.
Gold coin, gold hammered coin.
Look at that! Come here, look at that.
I can't hold it still, I'm afraid.
And given how soft gold is and how big this is, that is absolutely quite incredible.
OK, let us all calm down for one moment. What do we do with it?
What we do is we clean it up, which is a pretty simple process because gold doesn't corrode.
Yeah.
So and it's in such fantastic condition, we'll be able to get a good date off it.
Where was it found?
Just here in the spoil that's come out the bottom of the moat.
I think we've just about got a good story now.
Excellent.
We've exposed the front face of the tower.
Yeah.
We've got a hole that's been crudely bashed through the wall.
Mm-hmm. It might be simply that's the drain for the drawbridge pit behind. If water been accumulating there, perhaps rainfall, then this has helped to drain it back out into the ditch.
OK. Then at the very bottom, the good news is that Matt's managed to expose the yellow natural clays, and that is the bottom of the tower wall. Coming back, we've got the moat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's big. You know, it's 6.5 metres wide and it's 3 metres deep. Coming further back up, we see here now we've got the abutment on the other side of the moat. You know, really well-built, mortared wall. And so coming up here, you know, you get a really good perspective of just how impressive that tower is. And goodness knows, what's it standing? 7, 8 foot high? You know, just think none of that was visible yesterday.
So this is how Henry de Grey and Isolde, his wife, would have entered their castle in the 13th century. Across the moat, over a grand drawbridge, past the porter's lodge and into the Great Hall. But in the early 14th century, the castle was rebuilt with towers and turrets on the perimeter walls. In the 15th century, they extended into the lower court. But it was the Zouches in the 16th century whose extravagant plans bankrupted the estate and left the castle a ruin. We were all really anxious that CODNOR Castle might have been almost completely mined away, but we needn't have worried. An earlier castle, a moat and a drawbridge and a great hall and a tower all came to light. And even the rather sad final phase of gardens that bankrupted a family certainly did us proud. Oh, and of course we had one rather special find, which I'm glad to say is going to end up in the local museum in Derby.
This is the mosaic.
You mean this is this?
That's right. The problem we've had for 2 days is that we've been chasing licence. Was his rooms running in this direction, or were they going in that direction?
So where would the Orpheus mosaic have been?
That would have been under the grass at the far end of the trench in that direction.
Well, it's been a struggle.
Yes.
Thank goodness I was able to chivvy you on, otherwise we might never have worked it out.
It's all down to you.
It's disappointing that we didn't find more of the licensed villa that we assumed would be easy to locate. The quality of these mosaics alone tells us that this was an impressive 4th century villa occupied most probably by wealthy yeoman farmers, the early ancestors of England's medieval knights. Yesterday, back in the lower field, the experts thought that there were 2 bathhouses on the site, one earlier than the other. And today, Matt's found the concrete evidence.
We've got this huge chunk of open signinum concrete, but as you can see, it's got this lovely kind of curve on it. Do you know which part of the...
Oh, yeah, so I know exactly what this is. This is the first floor for this room, and it's part of the same phase as the concrete that you've got on the concrete floor that predates the mosaic.
Right, so this is the earliest
this is the earliest
phase.
And in this phase, I suspect the room was being used very much as part of the bathhouse, for the use of the bathhouse as a hot room, and that when the mosaic was put down, possibly the use of the room had changed somewhat.
That there would have formed the base, the floor of the bath, and here's the edge along there.
That's the quarter-round moulding, yes. This has been totally waterproof.
And at the bottom of the bath?
No, this is not in situ. This has been ripped out, yes, and just dumped.
But this isn't quite as fancy as a mosaic, though, is it? So it's a cheaper version,
it's
is it?
Plain. But yes, but it's waterproof, so it's vital.
Yeah.
Undeterred by failing to find a springhead, John's at it again. Hey. 5:25 and still the geophysics
Worth
comes.
waiting for, though. Look at this. We've got the whole landscape now magnetically. Here's the scheduled villa, a series of prehistoric enclosures surrounding it. Then we've got this avenue that we saw yesterday. Now it appears to connect the two fields with the possible shrine down here. We still don't really know.
Yeah.
And then in this field, sort of bathhouse fields, as we've been calling it, look at the resistance results. There's the stream, just orientate. There's the plunge pool, there's the trench with the mosaic. Look, we've got a whole new range. Corridors, rooms, absolutely fantastic. And basically it extends up the hillside there. And even more exciting, look at the scale. It's actually larger than the scheduled villa up there.
So is it another villa?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
It's got to be.
2,000 years ago, there would have been many more people living in this landscape. Based on our finds, it looks as if a modest range of farm buildings, including a bathhouse, was in use by the river just after the Roman occupation in 43 AD. This settlement grew into a larger and more affluent complex with its own piped running water, but it would have been vulnerable to flooding. So perhaps it was the same family that built the villa that Lysons discovered further up the hill on the site of some other prehistoric farm buildings. This later villa almost eluded us, but no one could have predicted the quality and the significance of the other discoveries we made. We came here because of a handful of tesserae in this field, but we found this amazing bathhouse. Once Romans would have sat among these beautiful mosaics sweating, then they would have sprinted over to Phil's plunge pool to cool off and exchange the gossip of the day. But this being Time Team, in the last few minutes we've been handed this. It's geophys of yet another villa up on this slope here. It's bigger than Lysons' original discovery and part of a huge Roman complex. Next door, with time running out, Bridge has finally revealed the Keller of our first temple. What you got, Bridge?
Well, Tony, we now have the whole Keller exposed. Got very few finds actually coming out of it. We've got this floor tile here with some little dog paw prints inside it. And we've also got this really lovely silver coin from the Emperor Trajan dated to about 98 AD.
What about structures?
Well, actually, we're getting a really nice sequence of events coming up now. And in fact, you actually walked through where the entrance would be when you came in the trench down that plank, just over there. We've got demolition phases right here in front of me. Then we seem to have the remnants of the original floor surface here. And then under that, we've got the bedding layers. And into that, we've got these two post tiles that are being excavated now with a third here that seem to represent an earlier phase of temple.
So what's the big story of this trench?
Well, I think the key thing might be that head we found yesterday, because I think that could be the god or the spirit, the deity that they were worshipping, that they dedicated this temple to. It meant an awful lot to the people here, enough to build this huge tower and this temple.
And Phil has unearthed an even rarer temple, one of the most important buildings we've ever dug on Time Team. Phil, are you confident now that you know what we've got here?
Oh, absolutely, Tony. You see this brown soil in front of us? Well, that is literally like a garden soil, and it's got 1st and 2nd century pottery in it. So I don't think that the temple was here at that stage. But the floor of the temple, which is literally the surface that we're walking on, we've got 3rd century pottery there on the floor of the temple, which is where we're standing now. And we've got 3rd century coin from the tessellated pavement there. So I'm pretty sure that the temple itself is 3rd century. When you look at the construction of it, you can see there we've gone through the wall, and you can see the depth of the foundations. They are massive. So imagine just how big the wall above it's going to be. But if you really want massive, have a look at the massive foundation for this main altar or shrine base. It may look like they've just heaved in a load of flints just randomly, but when you actually start to unpick it, you can see that it's alternating layers of flints and chalk.
It's all been tamped down time after time,
Absolutely. And of course, you don't build a foundation like that unless you're going to put something absolutely massive on top, like an enormous altar or a full-size statue. It's seriously big.
So we think our temple complex looked like this. In one temple centre was a sacred stone, a focus of devotion for the many who processed around the temple. On the site, Romano-British visitors offered curses and coins, sacrificed animals, and then prayed to the gods at a huge monument inside a circular temple.
Hello, my name's John Gator. Time Team is fan-funded by Patreon. This vital support helps us to make new episodes. Joining Patreon gives you access to exclusive interviews, 3D models and masterclasses, plus lots more.